Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Change Nerd channel. I'm Jason. This episode is number 4 in our series of 5 about the 5 questions of change. The first session talked about why this and why now. The second one talked about what does success look like when we're finished. Third was what happens if we don't take any action. Today is getting more specific about how people benefit from the change. It anchors deeply in the why, which is why is our number 1 question and why it is so important. Without it, it tends to be less clear about what's in it for me and what's in it for us. Lots of times when I ask people how well they are about communicating a change, I get things from I'm super skilled, people come to me to learn how, to I'm okay, to no comment. Being crystal clear about the why and being able to communicate it clearly and effectively is definitely a skill. It also takes time. If we don't take the time to be clear about explaining those benefits to people, then it comes across as do because I said so, which in earlier episodes we talked about is tough to get people to rally behind the change. The core of your communication, whether it be personally or professionally, is anchored in that why. The overall vision and the overall benefits are the foundation of the communication strategy. However, not everybody may anchor themselves to the same what's in it for me or what's in it for us. Sometimes we have to change or customize our message for the intended audience so that it resonates more with them and it is a very clear why and what's in it for them. Sometimes we're also expected to communicate a change, and the reason behind that change may not be super clear. We may have to help those folks get clear on their why so that we can explain the why, both personally and professionally. This has shown up sometimes in the work environment where leaders say, oh, we got to make this change and we got to do this and we got to do it now. But they may not ask their stakeholders the purpose and intent behind the change. So now you're expected to come up with a communication strategy based off of your limited understanding, and it may not be totally accurate about the why. Sometimes it can be hard to get people to get excited about the change when there's too much change going on in their lives. Personally and professionally, most people, when you ask them about the volume and velocity of change, they will tell you it's up, and in some cases, it's too much. When we're asking people to change, we need to evaluate how much change is currently going on in their life. Too much change impacts their ability to absorb any more. Sometimes we even have to guess a little bit about how many more things could come their way. Do they have the capacity and the resiliency to deal with unexpected curveballs? Because they're inevitably going to come. In the work environment, could there be performance issues that arise from having too much change? Could it prevent them from maximizing their potential and getting things done that they want to? Whether we're asking to change the color of the bathroom or asking people to take on new responsibilities at work, we have to be mindful of the volume and the velocity of change, because both impact people's ability to absorb any more. Sometimes there's just too much. Sometimes we can't always anticipate what's happening. As of this filming, there is an enormous amount of change going on in our country. Some people are weary, others are over it. We have to keep those things in mind when we are asking people to make changes, especially big ones. Here's a couple of examples of people who really wanted to drive positive change, but found that change fatigue was getting in their way. The first is the example of Marissa with Yahoo. She launched multiple major initiatives in parallel. She tried a culture reset, performance management overhaul, product revamps, acquisitions, and changed the remote work policy. Employees were confused, and they were fatigued as priorities shifted before previous changes had time to settle. Research cited by SHRM shows this exact pattern of overlapping initiatives without consolidation leads to disengagement rather than momentum. As a result, she had to deal with declining morale, weakened execution, and fragmented strategic focus. The failure wasn't vision, it was sequencing. Too many important changes landed at once. Another one you may be familiar with is Howard Schultz at Starbucks. The second time around, there were repeated changes with store formats, digital ordering, labor policies, leadership structures, and brand positioning across multiple return stints. Change fatigue showed up because frontline employees and managers navigated continual shifts while still delivering daily operations. Change fatigue accelerates because people relive unfinished change. As a result, Starbucks has had growing labor tension, unionizing efforts, and decreased trust in their long-term stability. Starbucks folks weren't anti-change. They were tired of restarting the same change. Change fatigue is real. Resistance says, I don't want to change. Change fatigue says, I've already changed too many times and I'm empty. Change fails not when people won't move, but when they're never allowed to stop moving. We hope you've enjoyed the series of the 5 questions of change. There's still one more to come, so be sure to stay tuned. Like and subscribe for more at The Change Nerd.